Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of History Lessons with the History Maker. I am your host, Gavin, McGavin, the real wrestler. And we are starting today with, well, the start of the Coastal Championship. This 15-man rumble at ReAwakening 15 was to crown our first ever EPW Coastal Champion. Just before this, Gentleman Jack Burbank and CJ Rose came out to present the absolutely stunning title belt, which was created in America by Leather by Dan, designed by our own designers here in Australia, and is extremely popular amongst fans. Now, why was it called the Coastal Championship? The simple reason is that EPW was first born as explosive coastal wrestling. From there, we moved to the name EPW, but we wanted this title to be a bit of a throwback to the history of the company, hence Coastal Championship. Many names were thrown around. I believe the Rising Star Championship was considered at one stage, but we ended up going with Coastal Championship, and I'm glad that we did. I think it's got quite a nice ring to it, and it all sort of helped me in touring it around the country. See here, I'm wearing a design of t-shirt that I only had one printed of. I quite liked it. It's the NXT Takeover logo with the letters HDLK sliding through it. And this guy I just walked past here asked me why I was wearing an NXT shirt until I pointed out that actually, mate, it says Headlock Takeover, not NXT Takeover. This Rumble featured 15 of EPW's hungriest competitors that you're probably not going to see in the main event scene, with the exception of Alex Kingston and later FN Carnage, or now known as Tyler Jacobs. There weren't any previous EPW champions in this Rumble, and that's what the title was really about. The secondary title was created almost to be like our Intercontinental title or our X Division title, something for people that they're not in a tag team and they're not at the very top of the card. A title for them to compete for, something to raise the stakes, and something to sort of train them through what being a champion is like. You can see there's a picture of the belt up on the screen, which will be displaying the times. Oh, went off to a quick start. Now, if you're keen-eyed observers will notice that just here, this little shop Euro shop combo is straight out of my entrance video, and bang. Now this is actually only the second time I'd ever wrestled Alex Kingston. The first time being a triple threat at a show back in my debut of 2009. It was myself, Woods, Gary and Alex Kingston for the Rising Star Cup, and Alex Kingston was the man that ended up walking away with that title. You see the timer up already, only 45 seconds between entrants in this Rumble, with 15 men. We wanted the action to stay nice and fast, so only 45 seconds. The third person to come to the ring, for those of you who know where the history of this title goes, will see the significance, is Scotty Ryan. Scotty Ryan, not quite as popular with fans here as he has become over the years. A little bit of double team work there. Why not? If I'm helping out Scotty, I don't have to get beaten up by Kingston anymore. Now, Scotty Ryan is probably the greatest opponent, greatest foe I've ever had. And it all stemmed from this Coastal Championship. Cowboy Billy Williams coming straight from the commentary table. Now this was a nice little surprise for the crowd. Billy Willie had been spending a little bit of time as the ring bell general. He had been in the ring for a little while. He had suffered a bit of a knee injury, actually quite a significant knee injury, which took him out for a while. But the crowd was very pumped up to see him, complete with his mask, and here comes his famous snake in his boot, which led to the hilarious consequence of him actually ripping the seat of his pants. If you look closely, you'll catch a glimpse of it after the rope right to the head. He's split his pants absolutely completely with that. That's what you get for wearing this a little bit too tight. Now, any wrestler who knows anything about being in Rumble knows that when the timer starts, you stop. You don't do any of your fancy shit while the timer's going, because if you do, no one's going to be paying attention. All they're going to be looking at is who's coming down the ramp. Dave Nero. Dave Nero is a guy that I only ever wrestled, apart from this Rumble, once, in a match where I wasn't actually expecting to be facing anyone. I had to wrestle in my street clothes because I was told I had the night off, and then I found out on about an hour's notice that in fact I was needing to wrestle. I didn't even have time to go home and get my gear. Hell of a match though. That was in the Invitational Tournament. Holding on the Invitational Tournament quarterfinals, I believe, of 2017. Chip your little thumb to the eye. Why not? Now our next entrant here didn't fare very well during this match. A very popular and very underutilized member of our roster, I find. Johnny Wimbledon, now known as Jonathan Windsor, is a very proficient wrestler. And he's also extremely tough. The guy is super resilient. Now, he's not eliminated here. You can see he never actually got in the ring, so he has not yet been eliminated. So it's just 4 of us in the ring at the moment. Myself and Alex Kingston, Scotty Ryan, and David Nero. No eliminations as yet. Rumbles are quite hectic and quite chaotic. I went on record to say they're not real wrestling. Oh, here we go. Here's some wrestling for you. Quick glance at the clock. And kip in German suplex, which I innovated, and straight into the 10 timer. Managed to get my shit in right before the timer went, which is, as I said, that's 101 in wrestling. Now, yes, we have heard this music already. Jagger Stevens at the time was tag partners with Dave Nero, and that right there busted Johnny Wimbledon right open. He was meant to compete in the match, but after that he was taken straight backstage, taken to hospital and stitched up, and even had a metal plate put inside his forehead, which is the reason why now Jonathan Wimbledon utilises a headbutt in his moveset, because when he's headbutting you, it's not just cranium, there's a steel plate hitting it, and I've heard it, I've felt it myself. One of those unhappy accidents that led to one less person being in the match that was supposed to. I didn't actually know about this until I got backstage. I was wondering where he was. I was expecting him to come into the ring and compete. Ryan Allen. Ryan Allen is one of probably the most unlucky men in EPW's history recently. Not only suffering a terrible knee injury, but also suffering a terrible neck injury. But this is Ryan Allen getting his first chance to really show what he can do at our previous home, Cyril Jackson, and he absolutely killed it. That's how you come in and make an entrance. High intensity, high impact, boom, and then taken out. Sometimes in a Rumble, you're not in there for very long, as we see with Ryan Allen now leaving, so you need to make the most of the minutes, or in his case, the seconds that you get straight in, huge impact, and then straight out. Royal Rumble's always a super fun event for any wrestling fan. I have many memories of watching them with friends, with fellow wrestlers. And if you're anything like us, when you watch the Rumble, you come up with all sorts of games of your own. You chip in a couple of bucks and get a number out of a hat to see the wrestler that's going to represent you. You win prize money for the best elimination, for the fastest elimination, for the person who eliminates the most people. Oh! Have a look at this. Australian TV celebrity, Dirty Harry of Survivor, previously known as Byron McKenzie and then known as Harry Avalon. In he gets, and out he goes. So if you had picked Harry Harry Avalon for this, you would have been very unlucky unless you got money for the fastest elimination. He did not survive very long in this match, and I'm not quite sure how I'm surviving. Now I've got about 4 or 5 guys absolutely beating on me. As I said before, except for Alex Kingston, so far there's been no one in this match that at this point in time had achieved the EPW Championship. So everyone was looking to win their first singles championship in EPW.
3, 2, 1.
Enter Tyler Jacobs. At this point, still a member of the Headhunters. A far cry from Father Tyler Jacobs that we know now. He was a much different man, but still the same brutal intensity and years of experience. So at the moment we have 2 former EPW champions in the ring, and then a selection of younger talent looking to actually make their mark. And that's what the Coastal Championship was all about, is giving people an opportunity to show that I'm the next guy, I'm the next one coming up, to show that, you know, I can carry a title, I can put on the big matches, I can main event the show when necessary, because the EPW Championship can't main event every single show. The goal of everyone involved in the Coastal Division was to get a title to the level where we had options for our main event scene. And I think we definitely achieved that. And here comes Tyler King. Well, I'm not sure what number entrance song this was for Taylor, but he's had about 7 by now. Oh, Jesus! I'm lucky enough that I've never actually had to take that move, which is great, because it doesn't look like the most pleasant experience in the world. Now, in this ring, there's a lot of men that I either have history with or are about to go and have history with. Scotty Ryan, of course. We went on to have a fantastic feud. Tyler Jacobs was actually the man that I beat for my first, well, not for my first championship, but for my first championship belt in the Hardcore Championship. After interference by Marcus Pitt, but he was the person that I beat to become Hardcore Champion after previously having held the Hardcore Shield. Of course, back in 2016, the Solution was running roughshod over EPW. The faction stable had grown quite large, including Jordan Bishop, Liam Mendel, Amity Rowe, lots and lots of wrestlers, young people that consider the learning trip at Davis Storm, get an education and progress their career. Here comes one of those young people, Jordan Bishop, who I think anyone who knows me knows I've gone on record to say that he is an extremely underrated wrestler. He struggled to find something that really resonates and clicks with the audience, but in terms of his actual physicality, his intensity, and his execution, he's one of the better guys that I've trained, and that says so, because there's lots of guys that I have, and there again, not a lot of time to show what he could do. He did wrestle a match previously that night, but a pretty short experience for him in the Rumble this night. As you can see, we're this far through the match, and still the first 3 are left in the Rumble. And here comes Psycho Fed Ferguson Block. For those who have really paid attention to the history would know that he was actually my inaugural tag partner. After just 2 matches, a second match I was actually against Ferguson Block, and then I was attacked by the Dastardly Schmidt brothers, and ended up having Ferguson Block take me under his wing and teach me everything he knows. We had a bit of fun. We had a few tag matches, a little bit of success here and there. Our biggest match was probably at Evolution against Damien Slater and AZ Vergara. Unfortunately, didn't pick up the win there. We just kind of sort of there was no big, huge breakup or anything like that. He stepped away from wrestling a little bit more, and I started doing a few more singles things. But I'm very grateful for the time that I got spent with Ferguson Block, because it was great to have an ECW original to help guide me through my first year and a bit of professional wrestling. Now, Elliot Forbes here was lucky enough to be the last entrant into the Rumble, based off the fact that he'd won a match a month earlier at one of our events, giving him the greatest statistical odds of winning this match by entering dead last, number 15. We just saw there a shot of Pix Photography, and also Bangers, two of the best photographers I have ever worked with. Pix Photography still there at every single show at Gate 1, and then there's Tez on camera. We are extremely lucky that we've had these people to capture on film and in photos the action that's happened at EPW, because they are, like we like to say, they're world class. A lot of my entrance videos are being made by Bangers. No pic, her photos spread like wildfire as they get posted online. We're very, very lucky to have it. Lee Forbes here has already been eliminated twice by Ferguson Block. And now he's running back and forth like an idiot. And third time's a charm. He is well and truly out of this match now. And we're down to 4. The original 3, myself, Alex Kingston, Scotty Ryan, and Ferguson Block. So now there was a couple options I had here. I could have tried to reform the team with Ferguson Block. Scotty Ryan and I had been working together pretty well at this point. Or I could just go it alone. And if anyone knows anything about the Real Wrestler, then you'd be pretty, yeah, I'm going to go it alone. There's no chance that I'm going to be teaming up at this point. It's every man for himself. That is not where you want to be in a rumble. You end up on the apron, and just one solid shot, perhaps 2, perhaps 3, from being out on the floor. Oh, quick little evasion there. Dangle of the feet. That is quite possibly the favourite elimination I've ever been a part of in wrestling. It just shows the level of cunning and the level of thought that goes into the wrestling of myself. And indeed Scotty Ryan. Great minds thought alike at that point in time. And now we're down to the original 3. Myself, Alex Kingston, and Scotty Ryan. One of these 3 men would become the first ever EPW Coastal Champion, and be tasked with really creating a legacy for a brand new title. That's what it's all about. If you become the first champion in a division, it's up to you to set the tone for what that division is. And it's up to you to make the championship. Sometimes the championship makes the man, and sometimes the man makes the championship. If the championship is new, then it's very hard for it to make the man, because at the moment it's just a piece of leather with some metal on it. And it doesn't have its own identity, it doesn't have a history, it doesn't have a lineage. So I think all 3 of us were extremely keen to be that person, to have our name etched in the history books as the first ever Coastal Champion, and to be able to start building that legacy. And that's why I did this. You've got to take any opportunity you can in a rumble. Down to just the men who started, Alex Kingston and myself, Gavin. As you know, winning a rumble from number 1 or 2 is the hardest feat you can possibly accomplish, and even harder when Alex Kingston is kicking and kneeing you in the face absolutely repeatedly. Oh. Alex Kingston here is going to try and suplex me to the outside. In a very precarious position here. All I was thinking at this point is that I didn't want to come this far only to become the runner-up. I wanted to make sure that Gavin McGavin was going to be the first ever Coastal Champion, which is the reason why I was going to do absolute whatever it took. Signature German on the apron, and there you have it. Gavin McGavin is the first ever EPW Coastal Champion. I remember just absolute feelings of elation here. The only title I'd held before this was the was the Hardcore Championship, which, funnily enough, I had won in a over-the-top rope battle royale at ReAwakening XV. I won a bid lid, but this was different. This was a legit title. This was me being tasked with making this beautiful championship mean something. And here I am asking Jack Burbank, former commentator, former general manager, former wrestler of EPW, a very important historical figure in our company's history, as I forced him to put the title around my waist. Where do we go from here? That's where episode 2 is going to lead us. It was the Coastal Championship. Australia is girt by a sea. So from here, I would take this title up and down the coast, the East Coast more specifically, and that's where I'll be taking it next week on the second episode of History Lessons with the History Maker.